For those of you who live in an urban environment, you may want to stay tuned for today's video. We're talking about a simple way that you can forage for something that's very, very healthy for you. In fact, it's a superfood, and it's notorious for growing in the cracks of the sidewalk. So stay with us. Depending on where you live in the world, you have probably heard it called a million different names. It's known first and foremost as Purslane, but if you're a horticulturist, you might know it by the official term, which I think is something like Portulaca oleracea, or you might have heard it called little hogweed, or if by chance you're watching from Malawi right now, you know it as the buttocks of the wife of the chief. That's what they call it in Malawi. However, I happen to be in Tennessee right now, and we call it purslane here. So let me introduce you to this amazing superfood that you probably didn't even know about, growing in the cracks of your own sidewalk right outside your door. As I film this, just so you know, it is late in the summer, so you wouldn't have even seen this showing up in the middle of the spring or even through June probably. But once the temperature gets above 90 degrees, you're going to see some of these pop up all in driveways, in cracks in the sidewalk, all different places you're going to see this. This is known as a weed. However, for centuries it has been used as a very healthy food throughout the world in many different countries. Interestingly, it probably originated in India or Persia, but we see it in most countries now where it gets hot enough to get above 90 degrees in the summer. And it grows everywhere, so we mostly know it as a weed. It's going to grow in urban environments, so those of you who are urban PREPSTEADERS, this is perfect for you to know about. If you are in an emergency situation and you need good, solid nutrition, go out and check the cracks in your sidewalk. Of course, you need to know how to identify this correctly, but once you do, you're going to recognize this is actually a superfood. It's on the list of superfoods recognized around the world. This little plant that's growing out of your sidewalk has more omega-3 fatty acids than any other green living plant. Now that's pretty amazing. So let's look at this really close. I want you to see it. These little leaves that you see here are like succulents. And so you're going to want to eat them either when they're completely raw or just barely cooked, or you just want to cook the daylights out of them, okay? One extreme or the other, because anywhere in between, they're going to kind of get that mucousy type consistency like you see in okra, and that's not really that scrumptious. So either keep them raw or barely cooked, or cooked to smithereens. Those are your two options. Either way though, this is a superfood that's going to be super nutritious, and you can add it. My favorite thing would be to add it to just salads. Like potato salad is the easiest one for me, but if you're a fancy gourmet cook and you wanted to put it with tomatoes and feta cheese, that would be fantastic. Some people use it with romaine lettuce. Almost any salad you could throw it in, but it also could work in stir fry or pureed up in your blender with your morning shake that you make for yourself. When you bite into it, it kind of bursts. It has this little pop to it, and it has a lemony, crisp type taste to it, a little bit cucumbery and a little bit peppery. It almost has a little spicy kick to it. So my mouth is watering thinking about it, but very tasty, not bad at all. You'll actually really enjoy it. But let me show you how to tell the difference between it and its closest neighbor that you're going to find growing nearby. So look down here at this with me. You see the purslane, and it's really easy to identify when they're side by side, but if by chance you're out on your own foraging, I want you to be able to see the difference. This here is common spurge, and they both grow out from a central spot in almost like a big round circle and very low to the ground. Now, I will say this, if you buy the seeds from a seed catalog, this will grow about 4 to 6 inches high. It kind of has some height to it. It's just when it grows wild, you'll see it very close to the ground like this. But this common spurge here has a similar look. The stems are both reddish color. They're both kind of succulent looking, although the leaves of common spurge are not nearly as puffy. They're the same shape, but they're smaller, and they're not like succulent leaves. They're just like regular leaves, just the same shape. And the telltale sign really is when you pull this open up from the stem, you're going to see that white, and I don't know if you can see that well or not, but that white glue type, Elmer's glue coming out of it. That means that this is not one that you want to eat. That's just kind of a good rule of thumb always. Now, dandelions are kind of an exception to that rule, but most of the time, if you don't know how to identify a plant and it has white sap coming out, just put it back down. It's probably not one you should touch. So this common spurge is what's most often confused with real purslane. And now that you've seen them close side by side, I hope you'll take notice of that and make sure that you don't get the wrong thing. But do your research. Know very clearly what is and what is not what you want. Also, let me say this. If the purslane that you do find is in an area where they might have put pesticides or herbicides earlier in the year, it's notorious because it's kind of a succulent. It really soaks up any kind of moisture that was ever there, and probably it's going to be filled with those toxic chemicals. So you don't want to use that. You really want something that's just out in a wildish type area where it didn't have exposure to any kind of toxic chemicals, because it will have soaked them up. Now, when you do find some, let me just show you how to harvest it. This is so much fun. You can either pick off each of the leaves one at a time and just put them in your little basket to bring inside and wash up and eat. Or I can pick this whole stem and just kind of run my finger down it and pull most of those leaves right off and into my basket. Or the stems themselves are so easy to pop open, and of course they don't have any white stuff coming out. That's a good sign. You can literally use the whole entire thing right here in your cooking if you'd like. But the leaves are just the fun part to eat and great in salads, so I like just pulling them off of the stems, about like you use thyme or rosemary, where you pull your fingers down the stem and get those yummy little leaves off. Even Martha Washington, George Washington's wife, had her own recipes that she had recorded in some recipe books on how to use purslane that she enjoyed. So I hope you take the time to do just a little bit of research and make this a fun project for yourself, to learn exactly how to identify it and to go out and try it and enjoy it with me. If you have knowledge of this and have already got some good recipes, will you share them with the rest of us? Because we would love to try whatever it is that you've tried that you have loved purslane in. All right, share this video with somebody that you love that can be benefited by it. And until we see you again, God bless you, and I hope that you will go out and be a blessing to someone else. Thanks for joining us.
Colossians 1:28 says, "So we tell others about Christ, warning everyone and teaching everyone with all the wisdom God has given us." Now go spread the word.